My sister called me a failure after I funded her education, so I cut her off. When my younger sister Lauren got into her dream college, it was like she had won the lottery in our family. My parents were over the moon, and Lauren basked in their praise. Meanwhile, I stood quietly on the sidelines, calculating how this would play out. Our parents made it clear they couldn't afford her tuition, and it wasn't long before I became the family's go-to financial solution. At first, I helped with small things, textbooks, groceries, but soon I was covering her rent, utilities, and even her nights out. Lauren never hesitated to ask, always assuring me she'd pay me back after graduation. My parents only added to the pressure, insisting that family takes care of family. Working 2 jobs, I barely had time to think about myself. While I skipped meals and postponed my dreams of homeownership, Lauren flaunted her new wardrobe, fancy dinners, and weekend trips on social media. I kept telling myself it would be worth it once she graduated. But Lauren's entitlement only grew. She treated me like an ATM and dismissed my struggles. My parents guilt me into staying silent, praising Lauren's potential while ignoring the toll it took on me. The breaking point came when she casually mentioned studying abroad. She didn't ask if I could afford it. She simply assumed I'd make it work. When I expressed concerns, my parents doubled down. This is an incredible opportunity. You'll figure it out. You always do. I couldn't believe their audacity. Lauren, meanwhile, complained about trivial issues like cafeteria coffee and borrowed shoes, treating my sacrifices like an expectation rather than a favor. Even her jabs at my hard work stung. "You're married to your job," she joked, oblivious to the reality that I worked tirelessly for her benefit. My resentment bubbled over, but I kept it bottled up until a family dinner. The evening started uneventfully, with my parents doting on Lauren and ignoring me. Then she brought up her study abroad plans, looking at me as if it was a done deal. "I hope you're ready for extra work, big brother. These programs aren't cheap." I froze. Her entitlement was on full display. Trying to keep my composure, I suggested she get a part-time job. She laughed. "I'm too busy with school." That was the last straw. "You think I'm going to fund your lifestyle forever?" I asked, my voice steady but firm. The room went silent. Lauren snapped back, calling me bitter and accusing me of being jealous of her success. That hit like a punch to the gut. "Bitter?" I retorted. "My life isn't going anywhere because I've been funding yours." My parents jumped to her defense, accusing me of overreacting and insisting it was my responsibility as her brother to support her. I couldn't hold back anymore. When did it become my job to work 2 jobs so she could live in luxury? "What have you done, Lauren, besides spend my money and look down on me?" For the first time, Lauren was speechless. I stood up, declared I wasn't paying for anything anymore, and left. The fallout was immediate. Lauren bombarded me with texts, starting with passive-aggressive guilt trips and escalating to full-blown pleas for help. When I ignored her, she tried turning my parents against me. They called, accusing me of abandoning my sister during a difficult time. I reminded them that Lauren's struggles were a result of her choices, not mine. Then, Lauren's landlord called, claiming she hadn't paid rent and expecting me to cover it. I refused, telling him to deal with Lauren directly. A few days later, she showed up at my apartment, desperate and disheveled. "You can't just cut me off," she said. I calmly replied, "Yes, I can." She begged, explaining she'd lose her apartment and had nowhere else to go. I stood my ground. "For years, I've been your safety net while you avoided responsibility. It's time for you to figure it out." When she started crying, I didn't budge. "Get a job, budget your money, and leave me out of it," I said, closing the door. The drama didn't end there. Lauren plastered her social media with vague posts about being betrayed, even starting a GoFundMe to cover her rent. The donations trickled in, but her friends quickly lost interest when they realized she expected them to bankroll her lifestyle. Meanwhile, my parents ramped up their efforts to guilt me, but I held firm. "You chose to enable her behavior," I told them. "Now you can deal with the consequences." Lauren's downfall was inevitable. She ran up credit card debt in my parents' name, maxing out the limit on a shopping spree. When they called me, panicked and begging for help, I refused. "This is your mess to clean up," I said. For the first time, they didn't argue. In the end, Lauren moved back home, still blaming everyone but herself for her situation. My parents continued to enable her, but I was done. I focused on rebuilding my life, free from their constant demands. It took time, but I emerged stronger, knowing I'd finally taken control of my future.